Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea called Kaizen. Now, it might sound like just another corporate buzzword, but trust me, it's this beautifully simple concept for making just about anything better, one small, consistent step at a time. You know that feeling, right? We've all been there. You want to completely revolutionize a process at work or maybe overhaul a habit at home, but just the sheer scale of it is, well, it's paralyzing. This is exactly where Kaizen offers a totally different and honestly, a much more effective way forward. So, at its heart, Kaizen literally means change for the better, and it's all about the incredible power of small wins. Instead of chasing one massive, earth-shattering breakthrough, you focus on making tiny, super manageable improvements every single day. And that consistency, that's where the real magic happens.
Okay, so how does this philosophy actually work in practice? Well, it's driven by this simple yet really powerful engine, the PDCA cycle. Think of this as the core mechanism that keeps the wheels of improvement constantly turning.
And this visual just nails it. The PDCA cycle, that's plan, do, check, act. It's not some one-time checklist you just work through. Nope, it's a continuous, repeating loop. You're never really done, you're always just getting ready for that next small improvement. Let's break this down. First, you plan. You find something that could be better and you map out a small specific change. Then, you do it. But, and this is key, you do it on a small, testable scale. Next, you check your results. Did it work? You look at the data to really understand what happened. And finally, you act. If the change was a good one, you standardize it. It becomes the new normal. If not, no big deal. You just learned something valuable, and you start the cycle all over again with a new plan. It's this fantastic feedback loop for constant learning.
So the PDCA cycle is our engine. But for that engine to run smoothly, it needs a really solid framework to sit in. And that framework is built on 4 absolutely essential pillars that support the entire strategy.
The very first pillar is something I think we can all get behind: eliminating waste. This is all about hunting down and removing anything in a process that doesn't add real value. It's about getting more efficient and more focused. In Kaizen, waste gets broken down into 3 main types. You've got Muda, which is just pure wastefulness, think defects or unnecessary steps. Then there's Mora, which is unevenness. That's what creates bottlenecks in your workflow. And finally, Mori, which means overburdening your people or your equipment. The whole goal is to systematically chip away at all 3. All right, our second pillar introduces a really practical method called 5S. The best way to think about it is as a system for creating a clean, organized, and super high-functioning workspace. Basically a space where problems and inefficiencies have nowhere to hide. And the 5S's are just simple, actionable steps. First, you sort through everything and get rid of what you don't need. Then, you set and order everything that's left so every single thing has a specific home. Next, you shine, making sure the whole area is clean. Then, and this is crucial, you standardize this process so it stays consistent. And finally, you sustain the whole practice, turning it from a one-time project into a natural, everyday habit. Now, pillar number 3, standardized processes, might sound a little rigid, right? But it's actually about creating freedom. When you standardize a process, you create a reliable, consistent baseline. And think about it, you can't consistently improve something that's constantly changing. And you do this with tools like standard operating procedures, or SOPs, so everyone knows the best, most efficient way to do a task. It also leans heavily on visual management. I'm talking about clear labels, organized toolboards, things that let you see at a glance if everything is where it should be. That kind of clarity makes it so much easier to spot problems and find those little opportunities for improvement. And that brings us to what might just be the most important pillar of them all: empowering the workforce. See, Kaizen isn't a top-down mandate. It's a culture. It has to be built from the ground up, because it is absolutely a team sport. This whole philosophy recognizes that the people who are actually doing the work, well, they're the true experts. So by building up their skills and actively encouraging their suggestions, no matter how small they seem, you unlock this incredible source of innovation, right from the front lines. So you might be thinking, this all sounds great for a factory floor, but the amazing thing is that these principles are totally universal. It's a mindset that works just as well for software development, for running a hospital, or even for hitting your own personal goals. So why does this all matter so much?
Well, instead of waiting around for a crisis to force some big, disruptive, painful change, Kaizen is all about proactively making small, team-driven improvements every single day. It's a fundamental shift from constantly fighting fires to actually preventing them in the first place.
When you step back, you see how all these pieces fit together to create this really powerful system. You've got the PDCA cycle constantly turning, supported by this commitment to eliminating waste, staying organized with 5S, standardizing processes, and empowering the team. It's a complete self-reinforcing loop of continuous improvement.
There's a quote that just sums this up perfectly. The goal is not to make one 100% improvement, but to make 100 1% improvements. It's not about searching for that one single silver bullet. It's all about the amazing, cumulative power of making things just a tiny bit better over and over and over again.
And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. In your work, or even just in your own life, what's one small, seemingly insignificant 1% improvement that you could make today?